Here's something you'll notice if you watch contractors shop at Home Depot. They're not loading up carts with the newest Milwaukee combo kits or top-shelf DeWalt systems today. Instead, they're grabbing armfuls of the same cheap tools over and over. Tools under $25 that most weekend warriors walk right past. And here's the crazy part. These pros are buying 10, sometimes 20 of the exact same item. Not because they're planning to resell them, because they know something about professional tool use that hobbyists never figure out. Stick around, because I'm about to expose which budget tools the pros stockpile right now, and why spending less money makes you smarter on job sites. Let's start with the tool that separates people who actually work from people who just collect tools. The basic utility knife. Yeah, I'm talking about that retractable blade knife, sitting in the bargain bin near the registers, typically under $10. Contractors buy these by the dozen. Why? Because utility knives are the most lost, most borrowed, and most abused tool on any job site. You set one down to grab something else, and it vanishes. Someone asks to borrow it, and you never see it again. The blade gets dull after heavy cardboard or drywall work, and most people are too lazy to change it. So what do pros do? They buy them in bulk, often around $5 to $8 each. Keep 3 in the truck, 2 in the toolbox, 1 in every room they're working. When one disappears, who cares? Grab another. When the blade dulls, toss the whole knife and grab a fresh one. At these prices, the math works better than constantly replacing blades. This is lesson 1 in professional tool economics. Cheap and replaceable beats expensive and precious when actually working. But here's where it gets smarter. That same utility knife strategy applies to dozens of other tools under $25. Take tape measures. Contractors don't buy one fancy $30 tape and guard it with their life. They buy multiple cheap tapes, often around $8 to $12 each. Why? Because tape measures get dropped, stepped on, run over by trucks, and left in walls during framing. The housing cracks. The tape gets kinked. The lock stops working. If you've got one expensive tape, losing it or breaking it ruins your day. If you've got 5 cheap ones scattered everywhere, tool failure means nothing. Grab the next one and keep working. Professional efficiency isn't about having the best tools. It's about never stopping work because a tool failed or disappeared. Now let's talk about something most DIY people completely misunderstand. Chalk line reels. You can spend $40 on a fancy chalk line with this feature and that improvement. Or you can buy basic models that contractors buy in packs of 3, usually under $15 each. Here's what happens on real job sites. Chalk lines get dropped from ladders. The string snaps. Someone overfills the reservoir and chalk dust goes everywhere. The reel mechanism jams. These aren't precision instruments. They're consumable marking tools. Contractors buy cheap ones, use them hard, and when they fail, throw them out. No crying over a $10 chalk line. Just grab the next one. Meanwhile, the weekend warrior is carefully maintaining his $40 model and getting angry when someone on the crew uses it roughly. That's the difference. Pros optimize for workflow. Hobbyists optimize for tool preservation. Let's get into fastener organization, because this is where smart contractors save massive time and money. Those cheap plastic organizer boxes at Home Depot, usually under $20 with adjustable dividers. Contractors buy them constantly. Not for storing screws and nails long term, for organizing fasteners by specific job. When you're doing a deck build, you need several screw types. Structural screws for joists, decking screws for surface boards, trim screws for railings. Instead of carrying giant boxes of each type and digging through them constantly, pros load up cheap organizers with exactly what that job needs. One box, multiple compartments, everything accessible. When the job ends, they don't clean out the organizer. They store it fully loaded for the next similar job. Over time, they accumulate job-specific kits: deck box, drywall box, framing box, each one ready to grab and go. These affordable organizers become time-saving systems worth way more than their cost. Here's a tool category most people overlook entirely: cheap work lights, not the expensive rechargeable LED systems. The basic plug-in work lights in the $12 to $20 range. Contractors buy these in bulk because job site lighting isn't negotiable. You need light in crawl spaces, inside walls, in dark corners, everywhere. Expensive lights are targets for theft. Cheap lights are expendable. You can leave an inexpensive work light in a basement for weeks without worry. Try that with a $90 rechargeable model. Plus, cheap lights run on extension cords, which every job site has. No battery platform lock-in, no charging hassles, just plug in and work. When one breaks, and they all eventually break from drops and sawdust, replacing them won't hurt. The expensive light breaking feels like personal loss. Now let's talk about the tool that proves this philosophy: putty knives. A contractor can spend $25 on a putty knife with a good blade and ergonomic handle. Or they can buy multi-packs of basic putty knives, typically around $20 for 5 pieces. Which do they choose? The multi-pack every time. Putty knives do brutal work: scraping old paint, prying trim, spreading thick compounds. The blade gets nicked and bent. The handle gets covered in dried material. By job's end, that putty knife is trashed. Having 5 cheap ones means always working with a relatively fresh blade. One gets too beat up? Grab the next one. The guy with one expensive knife is trying to preserve it, clean it perfectly, maybe avoid certain tasks to protect the blade. That's backwards thinking. Tools exist to be destroyed while completing work. Cheap tools let you work without emotional attachment. Let's switch gears to something that'll change how you think about safety equipment. Basic safety glasses. The clear ones priced around $3 to $5 a pair. Contractors buy these by the case, literally entire cases. Why? Because safety glasses are both critical and fragile. They get scratched from being tossed in toolboxes. They get sat on. They disappear. Most importantly, scratched lenses are dangerous because they obscure vision while you're using power tools. Instead of carefully maintaining one pair and working with degraded lenses because you're too cheap to replace them, pros treat safety glasses as disposable. Fresh pair every week. Old pair gets scratched? Trash it immediately. At these prices, there's zero excuse for working with compromised eye protection. The expensive safety glasses with fancy coatings and premium frames? Those are for people who want to look professional. Actual professionals are grabbing fresh, cheap pairs constantly. Here's where the under $25 strategy gets really interesting. Clamps. You can never have too many clamps, but buying quality clamps gets expensive fast. Bar clamps can run $30 to $50, but basic spring clamps? Often just $2 to $5 each. Quick grip style clamps? Usually $12 to $18 for decent ones. Contractors stock up on these cheaper clamp styles because most clamping tasks don't require heavy-duty holding power. You're holding trim in place while glue sets. You're temporarily securing a board for cutting. You're clamping a work light to a ladder. For these tasks, cheap clamps work perfectly. Save expensive bar clamps for furniture building and precision work. Everything else gets handled by an arsenal of budget clamps. When you've got 20 cheap clamps instead of 4 expensive ones, you can set up complex glue-ups and assemblies without constantly unclamping and moving things around. More clamps equals more efficiency. Now let's address something that separates successful contractors from struggling ones. Tool replacement philosophy. Hobbyists try to make every tool last forever. They clean them meticulously. They store them perfectly. They get upset when things break. Contractors understand that tools have service lives, and trying to extend those lives past economic sense wastes time and money. A cheap paintbrush that's getting stiff and losing bristles? Trash it and grab a fresh one. Trying to clean it perfectly and restore it costs more in labor time than buying new. A budget drill bit set that's getting dull? Replace it instead of trying to sharpen bits by hand. Fresh, sharp bits work faster and safer. This philosophy extends across every tool category. When a cheap tool's performance degrades enough to slow your work, replacement is always cheaper than restoration. Your time has value. Don't waste it babying cheap tools. Let's talk demolition tools. When tearing stuff apart, why spend big money on tools you're destroying? Contractors buy cheap pry bars, hammers, cat's paws under $25 that they beat to death without guilt. Demolition is violence: prying, smashing, levering. Premium tools don't survive this better than cheap ones. Steel gets bent and scarred regardless. Buy cheap demo tools, destroy them over multiple jobs, replace guilt-free. Save expensive tools for precision work. A $20 wrecking bar does demo like a $60 model. The expensive one just makes you feel worse when trashed. Extension cords next. Professional grade cords cost serious money. Basic extension cords in the $15 to $25 range. Contractors buy constantly. Heavy-duty 12-gauge for table saws? Buy the good one. For work lights and chargers? Basic cords work fine. Having enough cords means never constantly plugging and unplugging. Set up work areas with multiple lights and stations. Leave cords running. One gets damaged? Not a big expense. Multiple budget cords beat fewer expensive ones because you power more simultaneously. Now let's get into hand tools that contractors buy in multiples. Screwdrivers. You can buy an expensive snap-on screwdriver for serious money. Or you can buy multi-piece sets for under $25. What do contractors do? Buy the set, then buy another set, and maybe another. Because screwdrivers are what we call point-of-use tools. You need them everywhere. One set in the truck, one set in the main toolbox, one set in the trim work bag. When you're working in multiple rooms or on different levels, having screwdrivers already where you need them beats constantly running back to your main tool storage. The expensive screwdriver? Sure, it might turn screws slightly better, but it can only be in one place at a time. Multiple cheap sets scattered strategically around a job site beat one expensive set you have to constantly retrieve. Efficiency isn't about individual tool quality. It's about having the right tool exactly where and when you need it. Let's talk about something that'll save you massive money if you do any painting. Cheap paint trays and liners. The disposable aluminum trays typically cost just a few dollars. Plastic liners are even cheaper. Contractors stock up on these because cleaning paint trays is a massive time waste. When doing a big painting job with multiple colors, having dedicated cheap trays for each color means no cleaning between colors. Just let the paint dry in the tray and either reuse it later for that specific color or throw it away when the job's done. At these prices, the time saved completely justifies the cost. Compare that to someone with one expensive paint tray trying to clean it perfectly between every color. They're spending time and water and creating a mess. The contractor with a stack of cheap trays is already finished and moving to the next job. Here's where we need to talk about tool theft on job sites. Tools disappear constantly. When you've got expensive tools, theft hurts. But when you stock up on cheap tools under $25, theft becomes minor. An inexpensive utility knife disappears? Grab another. This is why smart contractors mark cheap tools with bright tape but don't stress security. The expensive stuff gets locked up. Cheap tools get treated as semi-disposable. This lets you work faster because you're not playing security guard. Now, let's get specific about levels. A basic 2-foot level typically costs $10 to $15. Contractors buy 3 or 4. Why? Different tasks need different level placements. Leveling a shelf, checking a wall, verifying a post. Multiple cheap levels mean checking multiple things without constantly moving one level around. Plus, levels get dropped. Vials crack. When an inexpensive level breaks, you grab another. When an expensive level breaks, you're upset. That emotional waste drains mental energy. Cheap tools eliminate tool anxiety. Let's talk shop rags and cleanup supplies. Those packs at Home Depot, often around $10 to $20 for a big bundle. Contractors buy them constantly. No washing rags soaked with oil or paint. Use them, trash them, grab fresh ones. Same with cheap tarps. Budget plastic tarps protect floors or cover materials. When they're destroyed, replace them. Trying to clean and preserve cheap consumables wastes more time than replacement. This extends to sandpaper, sponges, plastic sheeting. When something under $25 gets destroyed during use, it's consumable, not investment. Here's what helps you understand tool economics. Labor time has value. Making good money per hour, but wasting 15 minutes looking for a tool costs you productive time. Buying multiples of cheap items makes financial sense. Spending extra money for multiple tape measures, levels, and utility knives saves hours monthly. Those hours equal significant productive work. Hobbyists with one perfect tool walk constantly to toolboxes. Pros with cheap tools everywhere grab what's nearby and keep working. Now, specific categories worth bulk buying. Pencils and markers. Wood pencils, carpenter pencils, Sharpies. Buy entire boxes. Scatter them everywhere. At affordable prices, you eliminate the biggest time waster, which is looking for marking tools. Cheap gloves in packs, often around $10 to $20. Buy multiple packs. Gloves get soaked and torn. Fresh gloves mean good hand protection always. Plastic storage bins under $25 organize materials by job. Bathroom fixtures in one bin, kitchen hardware in another. Budget bins create organizational systems cheaper than one premium toolbox. Basic drill bits in sets under $25. Quality bits last longer, but budget bits work for most applications. Multiple sets mean sharp bits available always. Cheap squares and angle finders under $25. Multiple ones let you check angles simultaneously. Wire brushes and scrapers wear out fast. Several means working with effective bristles instead of worn brushes. Basic hex key sets often under $20. These get lost constantly. Backup sets everywhere mean never stopping work. Here's what ties everything together. Shifting from buying expensive tools once to buying cheap tools in multiples eliminates tool anxiety. You stop babying things and actually use them. You stop worrying about theft because replacement costs minimal. You stop wasting time walking to central storage because tools are everywhere. You stop cleaning things that should be replaced. These shifts compound into dramatically increased productivity. The contractor with cheap tools in bulk works faster than the contractor preserving few expensive tools. Your action plan. List tools you use most. Identify which cost under $25. Buy multiples. 5 or 10 depending on the tool. Distribute them strategically in different locations. Stop emotionally attaching to cheap tools. Use them hard. Replace when performance degrades. Track your time for a week. Notice how often you retrieve or search for tools. Calculate wasted time cost. You'll see spending money on bulk, cheap tools saves significantly in labor efficiency. The tool industry wants you buying expensive premium products and treating them like artifacts. Professional contractors know better. Tool cost matters less than availability and replaceability. An inexpensive utility knife in your pocket beats an expensive knife in your toolbox at the truck. A budget level you can leave set up beats an expensive level you move constantly. Success isn't about having the best tools. It's about having enough right tools in right places that you never stop working to deal with tool problems. Every minute managing tools is a minute not doing productive work. Fewer tool decisions mean faster work. Abundant cheap tools distributed everywhere eliminate decision points. You grab what's near and keep moving. That's the hidden advantage. Not tool quality, but eliminating workflow friction. Expensive tools don't do that. Abundant cheap tools do. The next time at Home Depot, you see contractors grabbing armfuls of cheap utility knives or basic tape measures. Understand they're not being cheap, but smart. They've learned through thousands of hours that having multiple inexpensive tools beats having one expensive tool. They've done the math on time wasted retrieving, cleaning, and replacing stolen tools. They've calculated the real cost of tool anxiety and preservation effort. They've concluded the under $25 category represents highest return on investment in the entire store. That's not something Home Depot advertises or tool brands want you knowing. But it's what actually works where productivity matters more than tool collection prestige.